Hi, this is Ronald here, and we're here for part 2 of our Kali Linux Basic Penetration Testing Guide. So in part 1, we tested the network connectivity of our Kali Linux. We confirmed that it can talk to the internet, and it can also talk to our Metasploitable machine. So right now we don't actually need the Metasploitable machine to visually show up, so I'm just going to make this one big. Alright, so there's a couple of things, a couple of penetration testing tools I want to show you now. So the first one is Wireshare. So I'll open up that one, and we'll set it to capture from Ethernet 0. Alright, so I'll minimize this. We'll come back to that one later actually. Alright, just to test. Okay, alright, cool. So the next command I want to show you is something called Nmap. Now Nmap is a very versatile tool. It can do a lot of things, such as scan a target. What it basically does is it scans a target and it will give you several bits of information. So you can actually get the operating system that the target runs. You can see what network services are running. But just for this this initial look, we will just scan the ports that are open on the target machine. So, alright, we worked out earlier that the IP address for our Metasploitable machine is 10.0.2.4. So we'll plug that into Nmap and see how it goes. Okay, cool. So that one worked pretty fast. So what this is showing us is that these ports are open on that machine. So we can work out quite a bit of information from this. So we can see that there's an FTP service running on port 21. There's an SSH service on port 22. There's a mail server running on port 25. There's a web server running on port 80. And there's a lot of ports open. So the thing with these ports is, if this machine is a web server, it does need to have this port open. But open ports are also a vulnerability which we can attack. So if there's a service that doesn't need to be running, the port should be closed. And a lot of ports are open on this machine because it is intentionally a vulnerable machine. So what we'll actually do is jump back to our Wireshare. And okay, so what Wireshare has done, alright, we'll actually stop that. Alright. So what Wireshare has done is it's actually captured all the packets that are going through the Kali Linux network interface. So there's a lot of information going on here. A lot of information that this network scan has done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense that so we can have a look at our target. So all right, we got a okay. So now we can actually see all the packets that we've captured that relate to our target machine. So, all right. So let's pull through this one. All right. Port. All right. So here's an example of how we actually got that port information. So we can see that our machine, which is .2.15, is talking to the machine, the target machine 2.4. So we can see that we've initiated a TCP connection on our target machine on port 80, and then we can see that the target machine has responded to us from port 80 to the port we used to initiate that communication. So what we've done is we've acknowledged that we've received that communication. This is known as the three-way handshake in TCP communications. But at the same time, we haven't actually requested any information or web pages. So port 80 is the HTTP. So we've actually just cancelled that communication. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so we've just closed that session basically. So this is essentially what Nmap was doing. It was basically sending all these requests and it was seeing the results, and it was using that result to populate this list. So there are a couple of things you can do to make this a little more stealthy. For example, we can set it so that that we don't actually respond when they give us acknowledgement, so they don't know what's going on. But this is just a basic look. So that's Nmap. Now another tool I want to show you is something called Ncrack. This is a password cracking tool. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to attack the target machine's FTP service, and we're going to break in, as you'll see. So here's how we lay out our command. So it's just ncrack -v. The -v ensures that we see output as Ncrack is working. And alright, so what you can, if you want to target a specific service, we can do FTP and then 10.10.0.2.4. Alright, so we'll let that one work its way through. We'll actually go back to our Wireshark while it's doing that. So alright, so you've captured this information. This is valuable information we can use in our penetration testing. So we'll want to save that. So we'll go on File and Save, and then we'll choose our format. We'll do the PCAP format, and we'll just call this one Demo. Now, something to note here: if the Wireshark is running, you won't get the option to save. So you need to click that stop button before you can save. Okay, so alright, quit. Okay, we can see our Ncrack has already found a password. So this is a pretty bad one, 1234556, and it's used anonymous, which is a default username common with the FTP service. So yeah, it's going to keep going and keep identifying those. Now Ncrack was able to do it pretty quick because these were bad passwords. If the passwords were a little better, we would have to introduce our own dictionary, or maybe even specify a username. But it's going to keep going, so I'm just going to cancel that. And just for fun, let's actually use the password, see if it works. So we're using FTP, and we're going to try to initiate connection. So we'll specify username anonymous, and then it's going to ask for a password, and we can do 1234556. Awesome. Okay, we're logged in. So we can go through this entire FTP server directory. We can copy things, we can spy through. So yeah, this is why it's important to keep a good password on that. All right, okay, so that's all we're going to do for Ncrack. We'll cancel out of that. Now, another important tool as a penetration tester is your scripting tools. So in terms of scripting tools, you got a few options. You have Bash which works natively on Linux. You have PowerShell if you're working with Windows. But I actually want to show you one which uses Python. So we're going to use a Python script to automate the Nmap that we showed before. So I've already actually made the script. So what I've done is I've gone on the Nano text editor, and I've made this one. So all right, so this is a pretty basic Python script. We've imported the Nmap library. That's something you have to install. And so we've created a scanner object, and we're asking the user to input the IP address, and we're going to tell the scanner object to scan the input and scan for those ports, and then display the results. So pretty simple one. So we're going to we'll run this. Now you might need to run the script as sudo. And then, all right, cool. So let's enter the IP address. So no, not that one. .0.2.4. And okay, we'll wait for that one to go through. So while we wait for that, let's just let's go back to our text editor. So so when you're using the Nano text editor, you can press Control X to exit, and if you've made any changes, so for example, print hello, that's just a very superfluous statement, you'll actually get the option to save, and then you can say yes, and then enter, and that's how you save it. All right, we'll see if it's done. All right, cool, it's done. So what it's done, all right, so yeah, essentially what we did was we ran our script, we provided the IP address, and it's given us this output. It's told us that this host is up, and that these ports are open, which should match what we have here. We only scan the first 1024 ports. So this is a pretty powerful tool because you can save information. You can save this information, and you can automate these commands. You can also have the program flow, so that flow and make decisions based on these commands. So, for example, if your program has detected that, if the script has detected that port 21 is open, then you can essentially write some code here that will trigger and run if port 21 is open. So you can essentially automate your attacks and information gathering. And that's just that example is just scratching the surface. All right then, so that concludes this initial look at penetration testing in Kali Linux. I hope you found that informative, and I hope you subscribe, and there should be some more detailed videos in the future. So look forward to that. Thank you all for listening. Bye.